Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour. Sponsored by Secure Cash, LLC. Talking the news with Noah Layden. All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now, Talking the News with Noah on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me, 5 o'clock. Good morning. It is Wednesday, May 7th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Could see a shower this morning. Otherwise, a mostly cloudy day on the way, high 74. Tonight and overnight, some clouds hang around, low 59. And then Thursday, sunshine, high 73. If you are walking out the door with us right now, 54 and partly cloudy in Northport out on Long Island. It's 54 and cloudy in Boonton over in New Jersey. And it's 57 and light rain right outside our Midtown studios.
The top 5 at 5.
Let the conclave begin. The Real ID program kicks off today. New Jersey Transit's preparing for a walkout by engineers. A Bronx woman is out $100,000 after being robbed twice. And who let the dogs out in the Bronx? All right, let's get into it at 5:01. Finally, the conclave is here. We've talked about this a lot over the last couple of weeks. To elect the 267th Pope, successor, of course, to Pope Francis. It gets underway. It'll be this afternoon, Italy time, this morning, our time. In total, 133 cardinals will be voting during this conclave, the most electors ever. 108 of them being appointed by Pope Francis. 10 are from the U.S. All the cardinals will take an oath of secrecy before beginning to vote twice daily, 2 times in the morning and then 2 times in the evening, and they'll continue voting until 2/3 of the cardinals have agreed on a pope. Now, there are a lot of Americans who are in Vatican City. They want to be there for this moment.
It's just super exciting, and it's a great challenge for my faith, and I just want to see a great balance, and our new pope just embrace a broad variety of issues.
Now, the ballots, of course, burned after each vote. Smoke will emanate from the chimney. You probably know the deal already. This is the Sistine Chapel where they will be meeting. Black smoke means a majority has not been reached. And when we finally get that white smoke, that exciting moment, that means a new leader of the Catholic Church has been chosen.
We need to fill our churches, and that's what I've been praying for lately, to fill our churches back up every single Sunday, not just Easter, not just Christmas.
The last 3 popes, they were chosen within days. Don't know if that's going to be this case this time around. The cardinals already start sort of their process, this politicking of picking a cardinal in the days before the conclave. Cardinal Timothy Dolan, of course, the Archbishop of New York, says this is what he's looking for in the new pope. And he says he does have a short list of 2 or 3 people.
We would be reluctant to elect a man without any pastoral experience. What does pastoral experience mean? You've been a parish priest, you've been a teacher, you've been a chaplain, you've been a bishop in a diocese, not in an office. Pastoral experience.
Okay, so who are the contenders? I was looking at the betting pool. You can bet on this if you didn't know that. One is out of Africa, out of the Congo. A cardinal from there apparently is on a lot of people's favorites list. Another cardinal from Hungary, Cardinal Peter Erdo from Hungary, is also considered a front runner among those who are trying to get the church to go back to more conservative ways after Pope Francis. So does Cardinal Dolan have a favorite?
I can't say that I'm settled on one, but I definitely have 2 or 3 that I'm thinking. I appreciate this guy. I've studied what he's written and said. I've gotten to know him even better over the conclaves.
But he would not tell us who that person was. The day begins, and it already has, with this mass celebrated this morning by the Dean of the College of Cardinals. And in the afternoon, the cardinals process into the Sistine Chapel. They'll take their seats. A priest delivers a meditation. Cardinals take that oath that they're going to do this under secrecy. And then they'll take up to 2 votes each morning, 2 in the afternoon. Now, they'll start this afternoon, so there'll be the 2 this afternoon. So the thought is 10:30 our time, which is 4:30 Vatican time. That's when this all will begin. Now, how long will it take? On average, over the decades, and every time they picked a pope, it's 4 days, something like that. But the last few went much faster than that. Of course, keep it here. 77 WABC will be watching that chimney to see when the black or white smoke comes out. 5:04. The other big story of the day here nationwide. Starting today, you'll need that real ID to board a plane. Now, if you don't have it, you'll still be able to get on a plane, but it may be, it'll take you a little bit longer. Correspondent Maggie Vespa says you have that driver's license. If you do, you need to have the star in the right-hand corner. If you don't, that means you don't have the real ID. So other documents like a passport, that will work for now.
They say if you don't have real ID or those compliant forms when you get to the airport, make sure you allow, they say, an extra time, possibly up to an hour or more for basically extra screening as everybody prepares to make this massive transition at airports across the country.
That massive transition began at midnight. DMVs across the country have been slammed, of course, with last-minute requests for real IDs, and waits have been incredibly long.
Because of that, we are seeing massive lines at DMVs across the country. At one Chicago location we checked out yesterday, people told us they've been waiting for up to 4 hours to get that new version of their ID. As airports and TSA across the country pull out all the stops, making sure passengers know decades of those real ID delays and all the buildup finally coming to a head, and enforcement begins tomorrow.
Now, it is interesting. New Jersey has the lowest rate of real ID compliance. In New Jersey, we just don't give a lick about this real ID at 19%, although it does have one of the highest rates of passport holders, which you can use in the meantime, at 80%, which is counts as a form of real ID. So in the meantime, you can use that passport to have the time to get the real ID. In New York, there's a 45% compliance rate. Connecticut has the highest. They're more compliant, apparently, at 73%. So here's the story. If you show up at the airport today or even in the coming weeks, truthfully, in the next 2 years. That's how long it's probably going to be. It's going to take a while. If you show up without the specific driver's license, the new real ID, you'll just go through some extra security. It's not even clear how much you'll go through. It's up to the TSA agent you face one-on-one, but they may go through your bags. They may bring you behind a curtain and pat you down. But otherwise, you'll still be able to get on a plane today. So if you have a ticket and you don't have a passport, but you do have a driver's license or some form of ID, don't worry, you can still get on a plane. WABC News Time 5:08. You just heard Joe talking about the fact that 80 flights have already been canceled at Newark Airport this morning. Now, 35 of them are those United Airlines flights that they say they are going to cancel going forward until the airport fixes what's wrong. So those are every day. But then that still tells you, let's see, 80 minus 35. It's still a lot of flights that are canceled today. New Jersey Congressman Josh Gottheimer, he was out there yesterday calling for changes to what's taking place at Newark Airport. It's 11 straight days of this nonsense. Air traffic control centers from New Jersey, Philadelphia, and Long Island are down apparently 40 staffers for the region. So that's part of the problem here.
But we must immediately surge our investment and fix the technology issues at Newark Airport and our airports around the country. We cannot wait a day longer to get to work to fix the technology issues at Newark Airport.
You know, it's so bad that the head of United Airlines was telling people, you know what, you might want to fly out of a different airport. What a pain. You know, Newark is the hub for so many people. Gottheimer, the congressman from New Jersey, who, by the way, is also running for governor, also calling on the FAA to provide emergency funding to upgrade the outdated infrastructure, including that radar system that went down for 90 seconds last Monday. Not this past one, the one before that.
Just imagine the stress, knowing all those lives are in your hands as all radar and communications go out for a minute and a half.
Yeah, I can
totally
imagine.
Unacceptable.
Yeah, it is unacceptable, and that job is stressful enough.
A region where 20% of the nation's GDP runs through, and I'll say it over and over again, talk about just how important of an artery for our country Newark Airport is, right? It's not only critical to our economy, right? But it's critical to air traffic around the United States.
Okay, great that Josh Gottheimer is holding a press conference, but what is immediately going to be done to help what's going on at Newark Airport? People's vacations have been disrupted. People going on business trips can't get there. So Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy announcing some initiatives that he'll meet with the airlines serving Newark Airport. And another plan that he has, which seems to be a pretty good one, is he'll keep some of the air traffic controllers who are on the verge of retiring by giving them an incentive to stay longer till they can get more air traffic controllers trained, new ones.
These are the best equipped controllers that we have, and so I've offered them a 20% upfront bonus of their salary to get them to stay on the job, not retire.
Okay, see, that's a real idea. Hopefully that works out. 511. Former Governor Andrew Cuomo now says he plans to run for mayor as an independent. Andrew Whitman explains.
The former Democratic governor of New York State announced the move Tuesday, saying he'll run as an independent, regardless of whether he wins the Democratic primary. This is current Mayor Eric Adams is also running as an independent and skipping the Democratic primary entirely. Cuomo is currently polling first in the primary, with State Assemblyman Zoran Mondami in a distant second. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New York.
512, let's go overseas. Parts of Pakistan, Pakistan-administered Kashmir, rocked by multiple missile attacks by India early today, in which at least 8 people, including a 3-year-old, killed. Pakistan's military says Indian missiles struck 6 cities, included 4 different places in the Punjab province. First time that India's hit Pakistan's most populous state. You have to go back to 1971. Now, they've always sort of been at war with each other. India claims that they targeted 9 sites that are terrorist infrastructure. President Trump responding to this dust-up.
It's a shame we just heard about it just as we were walking in the doors of the Oval.
Of course, the issue here is both of these countries are nuclear powers, so that has everybody a little bit frightened.
Just heard about it. I guess people knew something was going to happen based on a little bit of the past. They've been fighting for a long time. You know, they've been fighting for many, many decades and centuries, actually, if you really think about it.
Now, Pakistan says it shot down 5 Indian planes overnight, but India has not responded to that. 513, while we're overseas, a second fighter jet has been lost in the Red Sea after going overboard from the USS Harry Truman.
Minor injuries took place in the incident when the F-18 went off the deck of the aircraft carrier as it was landing and crashed into the sea. Both pilots on board ejected following the failed landing. It comes just a week after another almost $70 million fighter jet fell off the ship. Tuesday's incident is under investigation. I'm Mark Mayfield.
While we're in that region of the world, President Trump says the U.S. will stop bombing the Houthis now.
The Houthis have announced that they are not, or they've announced to us at least, that they don't want to fight anymore.
U.S. launched this new round of airstrikes in Yemen against the Iran-backed group after it launched a missile that landed near Israel's main airport in Tel Aviv on Sunday. Trump says a Houthi rep called and asked the U.S. and stopped and promised they said they would stop doing and launching attacks. The Houthis have also targeted U.S. warships in the region. President Trump's the Houthis told the U.S. that they don't want to fight anymore, so he's down with that.
I will accept their word, and we are going to stop the bombing.
Meanwhile, back at the White House, the newly elected Canadian Prime Minister telling President Trump yesterday that his country is not for sale.
Having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale.
Yeah, okay. Prime Minister Mark Carney was in the Oval Office yesterday where the president again floated this idea of Canada becoming the 51st state. He says it would lead to lower taxes and a free military for his people. Carney told Trump, though, that no, Canada is not for sale.
I mean, I believe it would be a massive tax cut for the Canadian citizens. You get free military.
Can you imagine if Carney leaned over and said, "Oh yeah, you know how much do you want for Canada?"
When you look at that beautiful formation when it's together,
yeah,
I'm a very artistic person. But when I looked at that beauty, I said, that's the way it was meant to be.
Yeah, Carney made it very clear, of course, for the people back home where he was just elected. Canada's not for sale. The two leaders set to talk trade and tariffs yesterday. 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Happy Hump Day. Good morning, Justin Elliott.
Happy Hump Day. Good morning to you. Noam Layden. Start here on the diamond in the Bronx. Austin Wells had 5 RBI in a 10-run 7th inning, hitting a tying single, and then his first career grand slam as the Yankees rolled to a 12-3 victory over the San Diego Padres. Aaron Judge launched his 12th homer of the season in the 4th for the Yankees, who snapped a 3-game skid. New York was leading 8-3 when Wells lifted a full-count changeup from ex-Yankee Wandy Peralta into the right field seats to turn the game into a rout. The Yankees had their biggest inning this season, getting 7 hits off Adrian Morajan and Peralta. Ben Rice hit a 2-run double for a 6-3 advantage. Cody Bellinger added an RBI single after Judge was intentionally walked, and Anthony Volpe hit an RBI single before Wells went deep. Judge homered off former teammate Michael King to extend his on-base streak to 32 games. Up next for the Yankees, Max Fried gets to start in tonight's series finale and rubber game against the Padres. First pitch is scheduled for 7:05 p.m. from the Bronx. In Arizona, the Mets dropped the middle game of their 3-game set against the Diamondbacks. The final score 5-1. The Mets took a 1-0 lead in the third when Pete Alonso walked with the bases loaded, forcing in Tyrone Taylor. Francisco Alvarez had 2 of the team's 4 hits. Alonso also struck out 3 times. Starter David Peterson gave up 4 runs on 5 hits and 4 walks over 6 innings, striking out 6. Coming up next for the Mets, Kodai Senga will start this afternoon's series finale and rubber game against the Diamondbacks, scheduled for a 3:40 p.m. first pitch from Arizona. And we are looking ahead to 7 p.m. tonight from Boston.
I can't wait.
It's going to be a doozy, Noam Layden. Game 2 between our Knicks and the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference semifinals series between the two. Of course, the Knicks up in that series 1-0 after that exciting Game 1 victory, coming back from that 20-point deficit. But the Celtics in Game 2 still, Noam Layden, 10.5-point favorites. So,
well, they should be. And the truth is, they missed, I was looking at the stat, they missed 45 3-pointers in Game 1. 45.
That was the consensus following the game was, hey, Boston, settle down from long range. Let's try and work the ball down into the post maybe a little bit more, play some real basketball, and you might have better luck against our Knicks. So, but we're hoping that they keep.
That would be unbelievable if they go up 2-0. Forget it.
Oh, please! I mean, look at the Pacers, what they're doing against the Cavs, man.
That's right.
So it's not a long shot. It's not as much of a long shot as it was to start the series, and now up 1 game here. You're working with some momentum. So we shall see. 7 p.m. tonight. Looking forward to it. That is your Sports Now, and I'm Justin Elk on 77 WABC.
Hey, business owners, make your cash secure again with Secure Cash LLC. Transporting your business's cash safely in armored trucks. SecureCashLLC.com.
WABC News Time 5:20. President Trump daring California Governor Gavin Newsom to run for president in 2028. He was speaking to reporters in the Oval Office yesterday, cited the billions of dollars in cost overruns with the high-speed rail line that's planned between Los Angeles and San Francisco.
I don't think he's going to be running because that one project alone, that and the fires and a lot of other things, pretty much put him out of the race.
So you hear there, Trump initially said he did not think that Newsom would be running, but then he said actually he hopes he does.
I'd love him to run for president on the other side.
By the way, he referred to him as new scum, which always gives me a giggle. The Department of Justice is announcing the largest fentanyl seizure in U.S. history. Attorney General Pam Bondi says officers seized over 11 kilos of fentanyl, including 3 million pills labeled as oxycodone that were laced with fentanyl.
Targeted one of the largest and most dangerous drug trafficking and foreign terrorist organizations in our country.
Bondi says the Sinaloa cartel members living in the U.S. are legally behind the operation. She says the leader was operating out of Salem, Oregon, and the drugs were being moved from Albuquerque, Phoenix, and Utah.
The largest seizure in our nation's history. 11.5 kilos of fentanyl, including an astounding approximately 3 million fentanyl pills.
Yeah, nice job getting that off the street. 6 6 alleged cartel members have been arrested. The Trump administration asking a federal judge in Texas now to toss out a case that would limit access to the abortion pill mifepristone.
Government lawyers say the case should be dismissed because Idaho, Kansas, and Missouri don't have legal standing to sue in Texas. But they stopped short of addressing the issue of access to the abortion pill mifepristone. Women have increasingly relied on the drug since Roe v. Wade was overturned by the Supreme Court. The drug is now used in 63% of terminations and could be higher in states with abortion bans. The request to toss the case is surprising, given that President Donald Trump has often bragged about overturning Roe. But some experts say the administration could simply be buying time to come up with a different strategy to limit the drug's use. Tony Waterman, Texas.
522 big win for the White House yesterday. Supreme Court allowing President Trump to implement a ban on transgender people serving in the military.
Justices granted an emergency request from the White House to get rid of a nationwide injunction that blocked the policy while litigation takes place. All 3 liberal justices dissented. 7 transgender service members had sued to block the order made by Trump. Separately, the U.S. Court of Appeals in Washington, D.C. put a ruling on a hold from a judge that also blocked the ban nationwide while it heard arguments and has yet to rule. I'm Mark Mayfield.
523, the world of sports and politics colliding on Capitol Hill yesterday. A hearing led by Senator Ted Cruz is looking at the rise of streaming services that carry games, baseball, football, that kind of thing.
The app or TV channel that a fan uses one week to watch a game doesn't necessarily work the next week. It's frustrating and it's annoying for the dedicated sports fan.
I'm right there with you. There's nothing more annoying trying to figure out where a football's playing. Is it on Amazon? Is it, whatever streaming service it is. Texas Republican says in the late 1960s, Congress passed the Sports Broadcasting Act that gives leagues antitrust immunity when it came to negotiating these broadcasting deals. That could be changing. The NFL is accused of being way too aggressive with its growing streaming strategy, which offers games on new nights. And it's all become just a little confusing for the average fan.
Requiring multiple apps and subscriptions just to watch a single franchise's entire season.
Yeah, it's just not right. Hundreds of dollars a year for a hardcore fan just to follow their team.
Millions of fans are asking a simple question. Why does it seem to be getting harder and more expensive to just watch the game?
Yeah, it used to be just Sunday, Monday, Thursday, but now it's all very complicated. 524, the FBI investigating a global online sextortion group.
The group is called 764, and they're responsible for targeting kids online and then having them do horrific acts to extort them later on, including harming themselves and abusing family pets during online watch parties. Right now, there are 250 open investigations across the country. Officials call it a network built on terror and abuse. Recently, 2 leaders of the group were arrested and now face life in prison. I'm Jason Campidonia.
Yeah, let me add it to that story. Every FBI bureau across the country has a case investigating this group. 525. Florida becoming the second state in the nation now to ban fluoride in their public water supply. The bill that was signed by Governor DeSantis comes just a couple hours after the lawmakers in Miami tried to override a ban on fluoride there.
I know that this board must take a procedural step today to be in compliance with state law, but I will continue to navigate on behalf of our community for our public health.
Now, this is maybe good news for dentists. I don't know. We'll have to see. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., though, says the mineral fluoride poses potential health risks, and that's why you've seen some states, Utah, now Florida, and some cities across the country banning fluoride in the water supply. The measles outbreak in West Texas showing signs of finally leveling off with no new cases at the epicenter, which is right outside Lubbock. But experts warn we could see a rise in cases as soon as school lets out for the summer.
We got summer camp coming up, and I think parents should be very, very afraid.
Terry Burke, who heads the Texas-based immunization partnership, says that summer is also a time when people travel. And measles, she says, of course, can easily be spread through a place like an airport. There are now more than 900 cases across the country.
Camps are conjugal living, and you got to hope that the camps are going to say, we're not taking you if you're not vaccinated. It's an undercount. There's no question. none of them think we're having a slowdown.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more than 900 cases as well, because not all of them obviously get reported. While we're in Texas, lawmakers there want to strip state funding from any library that hosts a drag queen story time. The move is backed by conservative activists.
It ensures that taxpayer funds don't go to libraries that are allowing events to occur that are antithetical to the values of Texas.
Yeah, I wonder how much money they actually spend on drag time. It can't be a lot of cash. But Megan Benton is with a group called Texas Values that says drag shows are inherently sexual and that kids shouldn't be around these people telling the stories.
If libraries allow events inappropriate for children yet marketed to them to take place, public libraries stop being a safe place.
Yeah, for full transparency, I should point out that I used to take my kids to the drag story time because it was completely entertaining for me too. But I know a lot of people will be angry that I said that out loud. 527 traffic transit on the 7s. They didn't probably have it when you were kids. I think it's relatively new.
No.
But I can tell you how, oh my gosh, so much fun. When they didn't want to go to story time anymore because they were too old,
yeah,
I was bummed. I was like, I can't show up by myself.
Yeah, that'd be weird.
Yeah.
That'd be weird. From the RayCatina.com traffic desk, again, as you travel out onto the westbound Crossbox Expressway now, the overnight road work is out of the way, but we got a new problem at the Alexander Hamilton Bridge. There's a disabled. That's in the center lane. You want to get over to the left or the right. As you come up to that one, you're also looking at delays on the Van Wyck still with overnight road work, which should be out of the way very, very shortly. That accident in Connecticut, northbound I-95, is still there at exit 15. They're picking up the overnight road work. The only thing left is between 16 and 18. On the southbound Jersey Turnpike now, on the both the outer and inner roadways as you start to come southbound, getting off at 13, there is an accident off on the shoulder. And then out on Route 80 on the westbound side at exit 4, right lane out repair work from an earlier overturned tractor trailer. Now, if you're heading inbound on the Long Island Expressway, Northern and Southern State Parkways, all three of them in very good shape. Little bit of a slowdown on the LIE at the Cross Island, and again at Queens Boulevard. We're a little slow inbound on the Gowanus BQE from the Prospect getting up to the Brooklyn Bridge. Really no big deal. Pretty much the rest of the way around, we're doing pretty well just about everywhere. Looks like we might have some problems, though, as you travel out onto the northbound Garden State Parkway as you start to get up through the area of Route 9. They had some overnight road work there as well, but I think that's out of the way. But still, you might have some slow traffic left over from that also. It looks like getting off Route 9 and getting onto Route 35, a little bit of slow traffic. Now, Jersey Transit, 656 out of Summit, 545 out of Jersey Avenue. All of those have been canceled. Jersey Transit, the Transit Authority, delays on the 2 and the 3. And again, over 80 flights canceled already at Newark Airport. An alternate side is in effect. Step into a world of redefined performance. Jaguar Marlboro. Discover exclusive lease and finance offers on their most popular models, including the new Jaguar F-Pace SUV. Experience timeless luxury in a Jaguar from Jaguar Marlboro, a Ray Cattina dealership. I'm Joe Nolan with traffic on Talk Radio 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:30. Experts warning President...
It's the 77 WABC News Hour. Sponsored by Secure Cash, LLC. Talking the news with Noam Laden. All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now, Talking the news with Noam on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me, 5:35. Good morning. It is Wednesday, May 7th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Could see a shower this morning. Otherwise, a mostly cloudy day on the way, high 74. Tonight and overnight, some clouds hang around, low 59. And then Thursday, sunshine, high 73. If you are walking out the door with us right now, 54, partly cloudy in Northport, out on Long Island, 53 and cloudy in Haverstraw, and it's 54 and cloudy in Boonton, and 57 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios. We'll start this half hour right here in the tri-state area at midnight. Real ID went into effect, the Department of Homeland Security, enforcing this deadline. This is the one where you have to show up with a real ID to get through a TSA line. And the lines for people wanting to get a real ID at DMVs across the tri-state have been incredibly long over the last couple days.
It felt like the energy was kind of tense.
I didn't want to do it, but it had to get done.
What would be a great invention, I was thinking, would be like if you're like when you're waiting for a restaurant reservation, they'll text you when your thing's up.
but they don't do that here.
Yeah, that would make sense. It'd be easy to do. At Newark Liberty, the TSA director there says there's a plan to help people who do not have the real ID and who do not have a passport, which is an acceptable ID, to help you get through. So if you don't have it, you can still go to the airport. It just may cost you like 30 minutes extra time in a security line.
We have a very reasonable approach tomorrow that even those that haven't gotten to that point yet, we'll be able to work with them, provide some additional enhanced security, and get them on their way.
Yeah, so they'll maybe check your bags or pull you aside for a pat down. New Jersey has one of the lowest rates of real ID compliance at just 19%. About 80% of people in New Jersey, though, do have a passport, which you can now use. In New York, there is 45% compliance rate. And in Connecticut, well, they're all over this. 73% of people in Connecticut apparently have the real ID. WABC News Time 5:39, the eyes of the world on the Vatican at this hour as the conclave to elect the next pope is about to begin. New York's Archbishop Timothy Cardinal Dolan, of course, he is there. He says the process may take longer than usual this time. He says the world, of course, loves the secrecy of this all, but he explains why they do the secret balloting for the conclave.
See, if you know church history, you know why. There has been constant tampering. There was a lot of interference. There could be a lot of finagling.
Yeah, so no phones, no electronics of any kind will be allowed in. The last three popes have been elected in 2 or 3 days. The Cardinal Dolan, says the first ballot helps sort out the front runners and momentum plays a role. A favorite who falls short of expectations can quickly fade, opening the door for other contenders to rise.
People have said, is there deep division in the College of Cardinals? I haven't seen division. I have seen immense diversity. I definitely have 2 or 3 that I'm thinking, I appreciate this guy. I studied what he's written and said.
But he wouldn't, of course, tell us who that individual was that he has on a short list. Now, this is one of the rumors that keeps going around that Newark Cardinal Joseph Tobin is one person who may be considered in Newark. Of course, he's the cardinal in Newark. And he has just consistently laughed off the idea. But in Newark, of course, they're excited that maybe he's even being considered.
Can you imagine if it's Cardinal Tobin going over there to be Pope? Of course, that would be great. I just pray that, whatever happens is a great decision and trust, and that's it.
I thought Tobin's response was the funniest. He says he thinks it may be his own family members who are pushing his candidacy.
I think that my sisters must bake cookies and bribe people.
Yeah, so, okay, that's what so he doesn't think he stands a chance. So at 4:00 our time, so about an hour and 40 minutes ago, they began this mass for the Cardinals before they begin contemplating making the decision on the new Pope. 10:30 a.m. Italy time. 10:30, our time, which would be 4:30 Vatican time. That's when they'll begin to go into the secrecy of the Sistine Chapel and start discussing about who might be the next pope. And as you heard from Cardinal Dolan, usually the first ballot is just to figure out where everybody is in place in terms of who they're choosing, and then they're able to sort of narrow it down there, which kind of makes sense. 5:42. There are now 5 people in custody, including a 12-year-old, in connection to a gang attack on NYPD cops in Times Square on Friday. Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch says they threw objects at the officers who were trying to stop an attempted robbery. This was 8th Avenue and 42nd Street on Friday.
They were ambushed, pelted with scooters, basketballs, and other makeshift weapons. This was a targeted attack, planned, deliberate, and carried out with intent.
Police say the suspects, the wanted kids, that they look like, is mostly kids, belong to some sort of subset of a violent gang. ICE, of course, now involved in the matter. Some of the suspects have been living in migrant shelters and have previously been arrested for other crimes in New York. Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch says some of the suspects have been arrested and are known to police.
It's what happens when repeat offenders are allowed to cycle through arrest after arrest without meaningful accountability. It's what happens when there are no real consequences.
She held a press conference yesterday along with the mayor, who says he expects there will be more arrests in the coming days.
You are attacking our symbol of safety.
and it cannot be tolerated.
Let's go out to New Jersey at 5:43. A strike by New Jersey Transit locomotive engineers as early as May 16th is looking more likely. That's the word from New Jersey Transit, who for months on end said they thought they'd be able to negotiate their way out of a strike. But the New Jersey Transit CEO is accusing the engineers union of playing chicken, demanding $225,000 a year for a starting salary, up from the original $190,000 grand they were seeking. So he says, wait a minute, we're not even close to making a deal. And yeah, this strike could potentially happen May 16th.
I think it is a clear signal that they intend on striking and not seeking a solution.
Now, New Jersey Transit had offered $172,000. By the way, it's not a bad payday. So they say they were shocked when the engineers union came back and asked for what they say is just way too much money.
An average rider will now end up paying a 34% increase.
Yeah, I mean, that's after riders have already been socked with fare hikes over the last couple years.
The proposal they put on the table will now require the corporate transit fees to go up by 37%, or the fares to go up by 34%. How is that working towards a solution? I don't see it.
Yeah, so 350,000 people take New Jersey Transit every day. So, I mean, think about how disruptive that would be if these engineers walk off the job. Now, the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen, they did send out a statement to us yesterday, say they want to continue talks with the goals of reaching an agreement. They dispute what New Jersey Transit is saying about salaries, and they say they want to come to a deal. They don't really want to walk come May 16th either. All right, 5:45. Let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk, and here's Justin Allen.
Thank you, Noam Maladen. We'll start here on the Diamond in the Bronx. Austin Wells had 5 RBI in a 10-run seventh inning, hitting a tying single, and then his first career grand slam as the Yankees rolled to a 12-3 victory over the San Diego Padres. Aaron Judge launched his 12th homer of the season in the 4th for the Yankees, who snapped a 3-game skid. New York was leading 8-3 when Wells lifted a full count changeup from ex-Yankee Wandy Peralta into the right field seats to turn the game into a rout. The Yankees had their biggest inning this season, getting 7 hits off of Adrian Morejon and Peralta. Ben Rice hit a 2-run double for a 6-3 advantage. Cody Bellinger added an RBI single after Judge was intentionally walked, and Anthony Volpe hit an RBI single before Wells went deep. Judge homered off of former teammate Michael King to extend his on-base streak to 32 games. Up next for the Yankees, Max Fried gets a start in tonight's series finale in a rubber game against the Padres. First pitch is scheduled for 7:05 p.m. from the Bronx. In Arizona, the Mets dropped the middle game of their 3-game set against the Diamondbacks. The final score 5-1. They took a 1-0 lead in the third when Pete Alonso walked with the bases loaded, forcing in Tyrone Taylor. Francisco Alvarez had 2 of the team's 4 hits. Alonso also struck out 3 times. Starter David Peterson gave up 4 runs on 5 hits and 4 walks over 6 innings, striking out 6. Coming up next for the Mets, Kodai Senga will start this afternoon's series finale and a rubber game against the Diamondbacks, scheduled for a 3:40 p.m. first pitch from Arizona. And we are looking ahead to the hardwood tonight in Boston, 7 p.m. tip-off between our New York Knicks and the Boston Celtics for Game 2 of their Eastern Conference semifinal series. The Knicks, of course, leading that series currently 1-0, but Boston 10.5-point favorites in Game 2. Once again, 7 p.m. tip-off tonight in Boston. That is your Sports Gnome, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:49. 2 men expected to face a judge this morning after a police officer was stabbed on Long Island. This was Tuesday morning. Suffolk County Police Commissioner Kevin Catalina says the 29-year-old officer slashed by one of these 2 men who were breaking into cars in the neighborhood of Amity Harbor. This was again early Tuesday.
Thankfully, he's in great shape, so I think that probably helped him to, first of all, avoid further harm when he's fighting with this individual who's trying to kill him.
This was a really frightening scene. Other officers had to apply a tourniquet to his groin to stop the bleeding. But here's the good news. He has already been released from the hospital. And neighbor says the stabbing happened when the officer was trying to get this guy out from under her husband's truck, who they thought maybe he was trying to steal something from that truck.
These people that are out breaking into people's cars in the middle of the night, they're a scourge to the public.
Yes, we'll get to see these two as they're brought before a judge a little bit later today. Over to Paterson, New Jersey, where a 70-year-old woman who was well known on her street was stabbed to death yesterday. Authorities say the woman was stabbed multiple times inside her apartment on Cianci Street. They think it happened about 2:30 yesterday afternoon. Neighbors say the woman had a boyfriend, but they think she lived alone.
Oh, she's a good lady. She don't have trouble with nobody. She don't have enemies. And she don't got trouble with nobody. Nobody. Everything beautiful all the time.
Now, cops tell us when they arrived, they found her with multiple stab wounds. She was pronounced dead at the scene. The owner of a nearby bodega knew her well and said, just all this is very upsetting.
Sometimes he buy the juice, sometimes he buy lottery. It's not like alcohol, but he buy cigarette. It's very sad, very, very sad.
Yeah, Passaic County Prosecutor's Office says it's investigating. Didn't give us a whole lot of details on who they're looking for or motive for that stabbing. Up to the Bronx, where a Bronx grandmother has been robbed at gunpoint twice in 5 months. Screams for help could be heard on a Castle Hill street. This was Monday night after police say the 58-year-old was robbed in her driveway. The family, they don't want us to know their names because they're worried this could happen again. But they say their mom, the grandmother, went out to put out the trash on Monday night. And when she did, a silver Jeep came up and they put a gun to her. And they were able to remove all kinds of bags of jewelry that they say are worth about $50,000.
So we have lost more than 100,000 in less than 1 year. We are very afraid of our life. I think that people are tracking us. They following us. They may end up killing somebody or killing somebody from my family.
So it sure sounds like they know who they're dealing with since this is the second time they held her up. She does work in jewelry sales. We don't know a whole lot more about her, but that's clearly why she's being targeted. 5 months ago, she was robbed of another bag of jewelry worth the same amount of money after a meet up with a customer.
They have taken basically all our savings because all our money is gone right now. There were two of my grandchildren here. So we are unsafe. We feel unsafe right now.
Yeah, I don't blame them. Family says they did have an Apple AirTag on the bag of jewelry that was last tracked to an apartment on Sedgwick Avenue before the AirTag was ditched. Police, of course, asking anybody with information on this crime to give them a holler. A careless driving ticket in Central Jersey for a car that was driving apparently on autopilot.
The Tesla owner who got the ticket and the Tesla were turning off George's Road in South Brunswick around 5 p.m. Monday. Police confirm the car was in autopilot as it wound up facing another vehicle on a narrow street. They say the car responded by accelerating into a driveway and hit the minivan parked there, maybe thinking the driveway was a street. Either way, the ticket stands. As a local officer noted in New Jersey, drivers are still responsible to drive with care, even if the car is doing the driving. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New Jersey.
WABC News Time 5:53. Let's go to Albany. Governor Hochul giving details to school smartphone ban that will not go into effect this school year, which seems like there's enough time. It's only, what's today? May 7th. School doesn't start till September. You'll have to wait a whole nother year for that phone ban to go into place.
The kids are just staring into their hand the entire class time, not absorbing a lot. And I heard from parents who are saying their kids are becoming more anxious and withdrawn.
Yeah, the governor says smartphones will not be allowed for the entire school day, so students can better focus on learning. That includes lunch and study time. You give it in at the beginning of the day. You get back at the end of the day. The United Teachers Association says the policy will transform the school environment.
Phones have stolen the vital building blocks like face-to-face connection, spontaneous play, unstructured exploration, the ability to focus deeply. We are choosing to give our children back 7 hours of a day, 7 hours in their classrooms, in their hallways, in their lunchrooms to have curiosity for human connection.
Yeah, but if they're going to implement it, why wait a whole nother year? It doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, city council members pushing now to ban pedicabs from loitering outside Broadway theaters. The legislation introduced by council members Keith Powers and Eric Botcher would restrict these pedicabs from operating within 50 feet of theaters. And if you've seen these, if you don't know what I'm talking about, these are the things that are pedal. They use it's like a bicycle with a pedicab on the back, and it's a tourist thing. They're all lit up. They're playing loud music, and so when they get near these Broadway theaters, you can hear them inside the theaters.
Yeah, I think that would be great. They're really loud and annoying.
And they shouldn't. You can't even go up 48th Street because there's people blocked all over the place, and you got to like zigzag around pedestrians standing in the middle of the street because nobody else is around.
Yeah, so like 10:30 or 11 o'clock, they start showing up outside these Broadway theaters, hoping to take tourists for a ride through Times Square. But they block traffic. People find them completely annoying.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, but they need to make a living. It's just like they can keep working, just not charging a lot or being around with loud music, I guess.
It's always a way to make a living if you do it the right way.
I've seen people complain about it in front of the theaters. The traffic, also the loud music and all that.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's any backlash to this idea, to this legislation. Likely it'll be passed. There's a push for new legislation about dog owners after a vicious animal attack in Manhattan's Upper West Side. We told you about this earlier this week. 2 pit bulls went after a chihuahua who was out for a walk with her owners. The dog is going to be okay, but is in bad shape. City Council member Gail Brewer says they're trying to find the dog owner who just walked away after the attack.
The law is no good because this wasn't cruelty. This was an attack. This was an assault. In the interim, we're trying to get the dogs removed.
Yeah, so apparently there's not a whole lot you can do to this dog owner because dogs will be dogs. That's what the courts will say. This woman has an $11,000 vet bill. She's done a GoFundMe and has raised already $23,000. She says she'll use the rest of the money to take legal action against those pet owners.
Those dogs need to be taken away for the safety of everybody.
We're going to find you. We're going to do everything that we can to prosecute you and get these dogs taken away and off the streets.
And we'll end with this story. A new study suggests that people with mental disorders are more likely to be left-handed. I'll point out that I'm right-handed.
The German researchers compared data from over 200,000 individuals and found people with schizophrenia, autism, and other neurodevelopmental disorders show higher rates of left-handedness compared to the general population. The study, published in the Psychological Bulletin, shows hand preferences often beginning even before birth, with prenatal thumb-sucking at 10 weeks of pregnancy being a good indicator of hand preference later in life. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
Yeah, I've always found left-handed people to be a little odd. 5:57, traffic, transit on the 7s. You're not left-handed, Joe Nolan, are you?
No, I'm right-handed.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
No, I'm right-handed now.
I didn't think so.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?